Saturday, October 19th. In the Battle of the Atlantic, convoy HX-79 coming from Halifax in Canada is spotted near Rockall in the North Atlantic. Several U-boats attack in a wolf pack and sink 17 ships. Heinrich Himmler arrives at the station of Irun in the Basque Country on the French border. He is here to prepare a meeting between Hitler and General Franco. After being received by Franco's security chief, Himmler visits the cities of San Sebastian and Burgos before arriving in Madrid. The Luftwaffe continues its attacks on London, Liverpool, and the armaments factories of Birmingham. RAF planes bomb the German shipyards of Kiel and Hamburg, military storage facilities in the Ruhr region in Schetwev and Dortmund, and the railway lines at Osnabrück. In London, the Russian ambassador, Ivan Maisky, protests at the Royal Navy's seizure of ships from Estonia and Lithuania. Mussolini arrives at Forli on the Italian border with Yugoslavia to visit the forces deployed in the east. In Washington, the Governor General of Canada, Lord Athlone, meets President Roosevelt, who promises that America will defend the security of Canada, which is at war with Nazi Germany. In the Middle East, air raid sirens sound out for the first time since the start of the war in the city of Jerusalem. Sunday, October 20th. Hitler leaves Berlin on his train America, accompanied by von Ribbentrop, on a visit to France, where the Nazi leader is to meet with Pétain and Laval. After which he will travel to the Spanish border to meet General Franco. Hitler wants allies in his struggle against Britain. Heinrich Himmler, who is visiting Spain, arrives at Madrid, where he is greeted by Minister Serrano Suñé and later by General Franco at the El Pardo Palace. Hermann Göring, in a meeting with the OKL, High Command of the Air Force, is criticized for the Luftwaffe's constant changes of strategy. The attacks against large British cities, particularly London, forced the Messerschmitt Bf-109s to fly to the limits of their range, and means that German bombers lack escorts during part of their raids, leading to a high number of losses. Furthermore, Hitler is facing a tactical defeat in his plan to break civilian morale in Britain. Quite the contrary is happening. President Roosevelt summons Joseph Kennedy, the American ambassador in London, to explain his repeated declarations that the British Empire is doomed, which have aroused Churchill's wrath. Meanwhile, the U.S. government orders the closure of some of its consulates in Japan and encourages American citizens to leave the country. Monday, October 21st. From London, Churchill speaks over the radio to the French people, telling them that Britain is fighting to destroy Hitler and his regime and nothing else. The two countries have been allies now for many years, in peace as in war, he says. That should not be forgotten. He promises Britain will fight to give back France its dignity and will be victorious. The British pilots are inspired by the Prime Minister's spirit of resistance at all costs. They put their faith in the radar stations, an invaluable asset in the Battle of Britain. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe continues to bomb London, Liverpool, and airfields in southern England. The RAF, its morale boosted by victories in the skies of Britain, attacks Berlin, Hamburg, Wilhelmshaven, the oil refineries of Cologne and Grevenbroich, the Krupp factories of Essen, the ports of Rotterdam and Flushing in Holland, Antwerp in Belgium, and the industrial heartlands of Milan and Turin in Italy. Roosevelt warned Stalin that he has been informed that Hitler is planning to invade Russia. The communist leader believes it is a trick to embroil him in the war. On the African front, Italian planes bombed the Wajir airfield in Kenya and an Allied convoy in the Red Sea. In the Sea War, German submarines have sunk 64 Allied merchant ships in the last 3 days. Tuesday, October 22nd. Hitler's train arrives at the railway station of Montoire, chosen by the security agencies for its isolation and proximity to the Paris-Hendaye Railroad. The Nazi leader meets with Pierre Laval, Vice Prime Minister of the Vichy regime, a passionate collaborationist who wants to increase France's involvement in the war against Britain. You must understand that France, as a defeated nation, will bear the costs of the war for a long time unless Britain is defeated and made to pay, Hitler warns Laval. Meanwhile, in the French region of Alsace-Lorraine, now occupied by Nazi troops, thousands of young people enlist in the Wehrmacht and the Waffen-SS. In Germany, more than 5,000 Jews are deported by train from the Saarland and Baden to concentration camps in the French Pyrenees. The Portuguese government declares that it will forbid the entrance of Jews into the country. Mussolini sends a confidential message to the King of Bulgaria, Boris III, inviting him to send troops to participate in the forthcoming attack on Greece. The Bulgarian king rejects the proposal. The Luftwaffe bombs London and the Leyland engine factory north of Liverpool. Rumors circulate in the international press that Churchill's government might move to Canada. In North Africa, the British bomb Tobruk in Libya and the base of Ghouta in Eritrea, while HMS Kimberley sinks the Italian destroyer Francesco Nullio in the Red Sea. Wednesday, October 23rd. Traveling aboard his train, America, Hitler arrives at the Hendaye railway station on the border between France and Spain for a meeting with Franco. He cannot offer the Spanish leader new territory in North Africa because it would cause friction with France and Italy, and can only promise Franco Gibraltar if Spain enters the war. It is not enough for the Spanish dictator, who has his doubts about Britain being defeated. After a long meeting, Hitler leaves without an agreement, having been unwilling to accept the demands of a Franco who has no real intention of joining in the conflict. Hitler is angered by the Spanish position, and Ribbentrop considers Franco to be an ungrateful coward who only won the Spanish Civil War thanks to German help. Heinrich Himmler arrives in Barcelona on his last stage of his Spanish tour and visits the Montserrat monastery, where the SS leader believes he will find clues to the whereabouts of the Holy Grail. Hitler himself has taken an interest in the quest, believing the Grail would confer on him supernatural powers. In the Battle of Britain, the Germans bomb London, Coventry, and Birmingham. The tension increases in North Africa, and the Italian Air Force steps up its attacks on the British naval base of Alexandria in Egypt and Buda on the River Tana in Kenya. For its part, the RAF bombs Italian positions in Solomon and Sidi Barrani in Egypt, and Asmara in Eritrea. Thursday, October 24th. After his meeting with Franco in Hendaye, Hitler returns to Germany, stopping at Montoire Station for a meeting with Marshal Pétain to discuss the new European order. The Nazis want increased French collaboration in the war against Britain, but Pétain argues that France is in no condition to fight a new war. For his part, the French leader wants Hitler to agree to a definitive peace agreement between Germany and France as soon as possible. Hitler and Ribbentrop have to face the fact that their plans have been unsuccessful. Hitler has been unable to satisfy Spanish demands because of the problems it would cause with France, and France's hopes are blocked by Italy. I will do what I believe is opportune, but when the time is right, I will settle accounts with each of them, Hitler tells his foreign minister during the return trip. Heinrich Himmler ends his visit to Spain and heads back to Germany. In the Battle of Britain, the bombing of London is interrupted due to bad weather. The Luftwaffe is only able to carry out a few reconnaissance flights. The British Admiralty acknowledges the loss of its ships Velia and Stamsaban, sunk by enemy mines. In the United States, President Roosevelt tells an audience in Philadelphia that there are no treaties or secret obligations binding America to intervene in the war. On the African front, British forces attacked the Italian lines in the area of Maktila, 16 kilometers from Sidi El Barani, where trenches have been dug and the troops are waiting for supplies and reinforcements.